the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
So check that out on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you keep up with the show. We appreciate it. Matt Green, where are we going first in our week 3? But before we get there, actually, how are the current standings heading into week 3 here, sir?
The current standings. So we are both 14-8 overall on the season, but I am 14-8 against the spread. One game on you, 13-9 against the spread. And then Zeus with his home dog of the week, he is 3-1. So we'll see if Zeus can find another home dog for the people this week.
You love saying home dog.
Not necessarily his homie or his home dog, like some may think, but it is the home dog of the week, nonetheless.
I like it. Well, Matt Green, where are we going first this weekend?
So let's start it off. This is what the people want. On a normal week, I would say this had some college game day appeal. Definitely if Florida beats Utah, but the Tennessee Volunteers going on the road to play the Florida Gators. And Florida is a 7-point home dog this week. What are you thinking, sir? What are your gut feels telling you? Well, let me set the scene first. Florida has won 9 straight at home against the Tennessee Volunteers. Last time Tennessee won in Gainesville, Florida was 2003 with, I want to say, Casey Clausen at the time.
Casey Clausen.
So
Iceman.
It's been a while. And that was that the game what the Florida dude he punched the Tennessee DB in the face in like the face mask and got like a penalty, and there's something happened with a personal foul that gave Tennessee a first down, and they ended up kicking that game-winning field goal. I can't remember exactly what happened, but something along those lines. Maybe it was Dallas Baker. I don't know. Just throwing that out there.
Okay.
I digress.
It was a low-scoring game.
Was it? I'd have to go back and look it up.
It was 24-10, I think.
So Florida's a 7-point dog in this one. Obviously, has not been impressive. Ran the score up on McNeese State for whatever that's worth. But against Utah, when we actually saw them play, where they have 13 yards rushing in that opening game. How do you see this game going, sir? What are your gut feels telling you?
I think I'm going to surprise you. I think this is a pivotal point in the year, and I've gone back and forth, and all Tennessee fans have started getting a little nervous about this one. I feel the same way about this game that I felt about LSU last year. That's what it's starting to feel like to me. Where Tennessee fans were nervous, they're like, are we really favored in Death Valley? Like, this is weird. Like, this was just something before the year you just were like, probably not going to win that one. It's tough place to play. Should be a good team, a lot of talent there. Don't have a lot of history of success there. You're a little dubious about going into that kind of environment and winning. Tennessee was favored at LSU. And I said on this program, I'm like, I think Tennessee's going to win big against LSU. I think this is one of those where Tennessee fans just have to see it, and then it changed the trajectory of the whole season, where that LSU game was huge for their confidence, for just proving that Tennessee was right. And people forget, they did struggle against Pitt in the opener last year. The offense wasn't humming on all cylinders to this point. Joe Milton said he's talked about it not losing in Florida. He's going to have a lot of family at this game. He's closer to being from Orlando than Miami. His best game as a Tennessee Volunteer was in Miami in the Orange Bowl against Clemson last year. I think this is a humongous game.
I was wondering how many games he's played in Florida. But
well, here's what's interesting. This is his first real road game at Tennessee. He hasn't played a real road game since being at Michigan in 2020. This is something where, because he played home at Pitt, played Bowling Green at home, and then got hurt in the South Carolina game not too long after, and that was it. And then Hendon Hooker took on, and Hooker actually started at Florida, and Florida pulled away late with Emory Jones and company, but that was a discombobulated group to that point. Obviously not near the amount of talent Tennessee has now 2 years later, going back to the Swamp. But all that to say, we haven't seen Joe Milton in a hostile SEC environment yet. We don't know what that's going to look like. Tennessee's best weapon in this game is Jaylen Wright. And Jaylen Wright's averaging over 10 yards a carry to this point, and he's not they've, I think, kept him pretty limited in his carries just for this kind of moment. But Florida's not good, and it's something that Tennessee fans just have to say out loud. Florida is bad. And if you go through the history of the 25 years of Tennessee not winning in the Swamp, part of the issue here is Florida was favored most of those times. A lot of these years, Florida was the better team at that point in the year. Tennessee actually weirdly ended up winning winning more games in Florida. A lot of those years they ended up losing early on. But this is a rare territory where Tennessee is still a favorite, almost a touchdown favorite going into this game. That's different. That's more than you were getting at LSU, another good option. I think people are just scared to admit that Tennessee is on the up and up, and Heupel has the floor significantly higher. He beat Florida a year ago. It got messy at the end, but they were rolling. And again, the defense is better than what it was a year ago. Graham Mertz, and what Florida does the best is their two-headed running back monster. They ran the ball really well last weekend. They look at a different team. Tennessee's got a top 20 rush defense. They had a top 20 rush defense last year. They're going to be good at that, and they are going to take that away from Florida. They have the number 4 rushing offense. I think Tennessee's going to be able to run on Florida, and I think that's going to be really important. The weirdest thing about this game, and I'm very curious to see how it goes, is Tennessee is 94th in yards per attempt through the air. That's not going to continue. That is not what's going to happen in this Josh Heupel offense. They are going to continue to run the ball well, and this will be a run to set up the pass kind of team this year. But they are going to air it out, and I think they're going to air it out quickly to establish some confidence. And that's kind of what we saw in that LSU game, where you want to take the air out of the building in the Swamp early. You don't want this to be a dogfight where you're going to the halftime at 6-3, 10-7.
I feel like you went both ways there. So for one, that's why I don't like pay attention to like the stat rankings this early in the season, just because it's like, who have you played, how many games? So I think Tennessee for ranking 94th, they could definitely have a good passing game, but Florida, it's 2 games. So we don't necessarily know what they are yet. Obviously, they're going to need to run the ball. I think it's fair to say like that's the way this game needs to be played for Florida, because that's what it comes down to. Like Tennessee did have a good run defense a year ago, but they also had like a really bad pass defense. So it's like it kind of works hand in hand. So if Graham Mertz is able to do some things to at least, make them respect the passing game, like I think that's what it comes down to, because Florida obviously wants to run the ball. And if Tennessee's also running the ball and we're kind of shortening the game, like that kind of plays into the only way Florida can win this game. Like if both teams have three or four possessions apiece in the first half or something like that. So I think if Tennessee is running the ball, I think that might be how they get upset, is not having the 2-play 75-yard drive or 5-play score in like 50 seconds type of thing like they love to do. I think that's where they get into a shootout and Florida can't hang with them. But if they're grinding some clock and shortening the game, I think Florida could hang with them.
But that speaks to what I'm also saying. I think Tennessee is going to be looking to blow them out early. And I think you want to get after Graham Mertz early. I think so one of the things about the first 2 weeks, Tennessee has a lot of sacks. I think they lead the SEC in sacks through 2 weeks. They're not even doing any twists. They're not doing anything all that fancy up front. They're just going straight up 4-on-4, and they're just bull rushing the crap out of the first 2 teams they played. I understand Austin Peay and Virginia don't have the sexiest offensive lines, but they're getting home doing nothing. They're getting home without having to blitz and do creative stuff. They're going to get home against Graham Mertz. This Florida offensive line is not good. This Florida offensive line is going to struggle against this Tennessee pass rush. So if Florida is going to be in this game, Graham Mertz has to have a good game. Tennessee can win this game with Joe Milton having an okay game and Tennessee having Joe Milton having a great game. Florida can only win this game with Graham Mertz having something like Emory Jones was awesome 2 years ago at home against Tennessee. He has to be the better quarterback, not just better. He needs to dice up Tennessee, kind of like Spencer Rattler diced up Tennessee at home the last fall. That's what it has to look like for Tennessee. I just think there are so many other ways for Tennessee to win this game comfortably than there is for Florida to squeak this game out. And it's just such a big game, because if Tennessee wins this game, you're looking at 5-0 going into a bye week against Texas A&M and Alabama, and just all the hype, and you basically recreate it. Like everything is awesome after that. You lose this one, then it's like, can we really get through UTSA coming in at home? Is that going to be rocky? Are we going to be able to handle South Carolina the following week? Like it's so critical to the rest of this season. and I think they all know that. Cooper Mays also, it looks like he's going to play. He's traveling with the team. Starting center's been out for the last 2 years. That has played a role into Tennessee's, I think, early struggles with tempo and everything else to this point. I think that's critical. If Cooper's healthy and he's playing, that adds another wrinkle to this group. But I think Josh Heupel is going to want to get off to a fast start. I think he's going to want Joe to be confident in this one, and that means taking the roof off the ball and roof off the place and just airing it out and letting Joe be Joe.
It's interesting how I feel like Billy Napier is the one that comes in under like so much pressure that like, who knows, hot seat talk could start if this thing gets ugly or something. It's like in year 2, but it just feels like there's not a lot of patience. And I could be wrong. I might not have the right pulse of the fan base, but it feels like Napier is the one that's under so much pressure. But to me, these coaches are under equal pressure because Heupel, there's still monkeys that Tennessee hasn't gotten off their back, right? And it's like going to the swamp and beating Florida, especially when you're better. Like Georgia fans under Mark Richt know that better than anybody. Like they were better than Florida so many times in those early Richt years and still weren't beating Florida. So for Heupel to get that monkey off, like that's just massive because I mean, right now Tennessee wants to be an elite program. Like this team went 11-2. Finished like number 8 or something last year, number 9. And they're trying to be in that elite group. And the elite group goes on the road and wins games that against inferior competition, and it's a hostile environment. It's the SEC, but that's what Tennessee fancies themselves, right? Like they think that they're there now, and that's what you have to do. You got to go on the road and win these type of games. Because if Tennessee doesn't win this game, where's the floor for Tennessee? Like, where do the fans start to go with it? It's like, if we lose to Florida, well, shit. We lose into Georgia. We lose into Alabama. We lose into A&M. Like, do we lose to Kentucky? Like, what's happening? Because Florida does not look like a good team right now. But I also feel like, I don't know. I feel like there's something like they have to win this game. Like, if you look at Florida, like the back is against the wall. They already lost to Utah. Like, there's nothing tangible. I think I go back to like when I was doing my pick'em back in 2019, Auburn at Florida. And it was like there was nothing better about Florida than that Auburn team at the time. Like Auburn was just coming in like the best defensive line in the country. But it was just something like, yeah, but Florida's at home and they have to win this game. Like, and so I feel like Tennessee is the better team. But this is your home dog of the week, sir. I'm picking the Gators to somehow get it done. And if you're going to call me a Tennessee hater, but
hold on,
are Florida Gators, I'm
covering or are you saying winning outright?
I'm saying Florida's going to upset Tennessee on Saturday night. Something weird. I don't think they're better. I really don't. But it's a night game in the swamp. It's just like there's something to it that like I think at home this running game is going to get going. Because I don't think Graham Mertz has to be Steven Garcia versus Alabama, right? I don't think he has to be Zach Calzada, channel some, level he's never been at before. I think if he's just solid in the passing game and they're actually able to run the ball, because I think that's what it comes down to. If they can't run the ball, they're not winning this game. Like those are the 2 best players on this offense, Etienne and Johnson. Like I think if they're able to run the ball, that's the ultimate equalizer, and this could be a game. So give me Florida 24-20, sir. Shocking the world.
Wow. I'll say the final score here. I'm going Vols 43, Florida 17.
Ooh, blowout.
I do think
so.
This
How's
is
it happen?
Milton.
Does Milton throw for like 400 yards?
No, I think they run all over him. I think Florida has a lot of bad turnovers. I think they have short fields, and I think Tennessee doesn't make mistakes. Milton still hasn't thrown a pick. Like this Tennessee team does not beat themselves whatsoever. So I think you're looking at a beatdown, and Florida implodes a little bit, gets a little too antsy, and I think it gets ugly early. And Tennessee just rides it out, runs the ball down their throat to keep this game in.